Okay, so having said all that, as I said before, our guest today is the fabulous Bonnie Yates. I don't think that she is here with us, but I could be mistaken. Um, she is a special education attorney who is with the law firm of, it's the Tollner Law Firm. And we're thrilled that is she here with us?
The short version is you can push her buttons. Anyway, more later. I gotta go.
Hey, we're hearing you. So sorry, Bonnie, we were hearing just the tail end of that. But I was waxing poetic about you. I was saying that Bonnie is with the
Why would you ever do that?
Because you're fabulous, and I always tell people how fabulous you are. So I was saying that you're a special education attorney here in Southern California, but the Tollner law offices are all throughout the state of California.
Yeah, this is causing some confusion, so let me just explain.
Okay.
Tollner Law Offices was based in San Jose, but through an interesting convergence of various circumstances, we've been able to expand to more areas. So we have one attorney, Amanda O'Neill, who's also licensed in Arizona. So that means if you have an Arizona special ed problem or an estate planning issue, because she does that too, you can talk to her. Another attorney of ours that was based in San Jose decided to move to Nevada, and he's taken the Nevada bar. So he's licensed in Nevada, but he's also covering all those areas in California now that are sort of, on the eastern side of California, where it hasn't historically been that easy to get representation. I am based in El Segundo, California, and our other attorney is based in the Irvine area. But you should also just know that for the foreseeable future, I'm guessing it's going to be for at least the next 6 months and possibly longer, all the work we're doing is virtual. Like we made the decision within the last, 4 months that we felt like it was better for our clients to meet with us virtually and be able to actually see our faces and interact with us than to have to be in a room with them where maybe they're super distracted because they're worried about getting sick and everybody's wearing masks. And, so we're not working, in a brick and mortar way right now. So basically what that's allowed us to do is we can work anywhere in California where people need help. And we're going to try to continue that because historically people in Central California have had very poor representation. People in Southern California down by the border, same issue. And then, you've got everything sort of north of San Francisco falls off the map too. There aren't too many lawyers that service, let's say, Sacramento, Davis, and so on. So, that's why when people see San Jose, they shouldn't be, I had somebody who said, how could you possibly tell me about Las Virgenes Unified School District if you're based in San Jose? And I was glad she said that because,
yeah, because you know a lot about Las Virgenes.
Well, the point was really just that she wasn't understanding that I wasn't in San Jose. So I'm not in San Jose, but I do have a lot of info to share with you.
Yay. Yay, because we didn't have questions this week. So I think everybody's on pause as they go back to school to see how everything is going to play out. So I'm glad that you have a lot of stuff to cover. Yeah, go for it, Bonnie.
I do have a lot of stuff. I'm just pulling it up right now.
And we didn't quite give the disclaimer about if you're not in California.
No, we didn't. And now I can't find my email to myself. Okay, that's all right. The disclaimer is that if you're in California and you have a specific problem and you want to talk to us about it, can you give us a call and we'll set up a consultation with you. And those consultations typically take at least an hour. If you're outside of California, we recommend you to copaa.net, which is an attorney advocacy organization. And I think you can find good people there. I have a question, Shannon. Can I look at, this is like a very untechnical question. Can I look at a document on my screen and still be visible Can you
Yes, you can.
do that without losing the Zoom?
Yep, just don't close it. You can shrink us and you can absolutely do that.
Thank you.
So you see the up at the top where you have the dash, the box and the X, hit the
Yeah.
dash.
Okay. Ah, okay, very good.
And now you can see whatever you want to see. And we can still see you.
Okay. What I'm wanting to read to everybody is a couple things that I pulled off of LRP this morning that I thought were so germane to stuff we've been talking about. One thing was about school psychologists. What was the other thing about? If I can't find it though, I'm going to really feel like an idiot, but I'll talk about something
Well,
else.
don't bother doing that. We have so much that we could talk about. I think that a lot of folks went back to school last week here in California. Some are going back this week. And even the people that I know that are the farthest out are going back in 2.5 weeks. So it's all happening right now. And thus far, I've only talked to one person whose child is going back full in person. And even they are having social distancing. So no one is going back to anything that feels normal, rational, or regular.
Well, I can talk about that too. I can talk more generally about what all that means, but why can't I open? Boy, is it just going to be like a star-crossed day where I can't read what I want to read to you?
Well, you keep looking, I'll keep talking.
Let me do something else then.
Okay.
Solve it later. What I had in addition was some comments that I made on Friday to a group of psychologists who see lots of kids, young kids with autism and other disabilities. And they had a lot of questions that I thought were probably useful to go over on the air again with everybody.
Okay.
And then I'll send those other things later because they're good. Okay, what is the district's legal obligation during COVID regarding assessments for initial eligibility, assessments for continuing eligibility, student records, and IEEs? So that was our first question. So in a general way, whatever you're offered as a distance learning policy is not, or distance learning plan, I should say, is not FAPE. It's not expected to be FAPE. It's not to take the place of FAPE. However, it is supposed to, according to the federal government, be the district making its best effort to implement the IEP as closely as they can. So if you have a very minimal distance learning plan and there's no face-to-face, well, virtual, but in real-time face-to-face interaction with teachers that covers most of your school day, the question is why are they able to offer such a small amount of coverage? Because they're supposed to be doing the best they can to try to implement the IEP as closely as possible, understanding that they're not going to be able to implement it in the same way that they would if school were open, but that that doesn't, just because school isn't open doesn't mean you can't provide speech therapy services. Just because school isn't open doesn't mean you can't provide, specialized academic instruction, right? You have to do it in a different way. You have to think about it, but I mean, all the colleges aren't going out of business, at least yet, and saying we can't teach virtually. So in terms of assessments for initial eligibility, some districts are taking the position that school is closed and that even if school is quote unquote open for the purpose of doing distance learning, it's not open within the meaning of the IDEA, wherein you have to assess, assuming it's not summer vacation. But we are getting
go ahead.
We are getting some districts saying they don't have to do this. If you're in California and the district is telling you they don't have to do an assessment for initial eligibility or continuing eligibility, or they don't have to do IEEs, or they don't have to give you student records within 45 days, which is the federal timeline. The state is 5 business days. They're saying they can't make that. My remedy for all of this is a state complaint, because the California Department of Education will get involved. I mean, they have done so far when my clients have asked them to. And I think that they're concerned about people not getting assessed, about districts getting very backlogged, et cetera. So, so for those things, if you aren't getting what you need from your district, either your assessment for initial or continuing eligibility, student records that you request, or a response to a request for an independent educational evaluation, or a response that says we can't do IEEs because school's closed, I would go straight to CDE with that. So, you know, that's,
Also CDE is again?
I'm sorry, California Department of Education.
Okay.
And
Uh,
that's
okay.
sort of the first little piece of business. So, you know, the second little piece of business, I think, is collecting all the communications that you had with the district during school closure and all the communications they sent you, and creating a permanent record of that in case you end up doing a future case against them for compensatory education. That could take a lot of different forms. We could be saying not only was the program that my child had from March 15th until the end of the school year inadequate, but also the programming even before school closed was also deficient. And so district, you're on the hook for comp ed, compensatory education, to make up for my whole year where I really didn't get what, you know, I needed for my child. So when school's in session, they're going to be keeping documents in a manner that's familiar to lawyers, and we sort of know what to look for and, you know, what tree to shake. But I think a lot of us are feeling uncomfortable because all of a sudden stuff is happening at home and it's not really documented and we can't see it and there aren't logs of it. So you got to keep really good records on what your student did get. If it's too late to do that, you're going to have to do it now. You know, you're going to have to create that data now. So I talked to a couple and they said that they'd had a very bad experience during school closure. Their son didn't respond well to distance learning, and they were going to take him out and put him in private school. And I said, fine, let's take a look at what you have from last semester. They sent me all their emails. Well, there are about 25 or more emails from the district communicating with them during school closure, maybe 50. And they wrote like 3 emails, and they were all very perfunctory and nice, no hint of any problem. So I came back and I said, you can't place your child in a private school now. If you want tuition reimbursement, you're going to have to enroll them in the district program for 2 months now and take much better data and figure out what is actually not working for him. And then you can move him, but it's dangerous to move him if you don't do so with that kind of try and fail data. So that's,
well, let's all try to learn from that. Let's all try to take really good data, make sure that if there's the slightest thing going on, that we're emailing the school and the district and making them aware of the difficulties that we're having. What else should we be doing? Should we be journaling?
You should be keeping daily logs of all of the services and how he did and what grades he got. You should have like the equivalent of like the daily schedule plus whatever work was generated, how much of the day was actually covered by what the district offered up, how much you had to cover, all of that stuff.
And you know what? I hear all of you going, oh man, like I don't have enough to do right now and I'm underwater. And I got to tell you, I think that what Bonnie's saying is so important for all of us, because we've talked about, you know, how important it is to have a schedule for our kids and to give them a visual schedule. I think it's also important for us. We've all stressed about this since March about our kids getting a good enough education. The time it takes you to keep all of this in line will also help you to keep things on track, so that you'll be noticing, is this working? Do we need more? And it's going to help you in the long run to get your child exactly what they need. Now, Bonnie, we got a couple of comments here. Somebody wrote in and said, in Saraland, Alabama, they are already in school, but social distancing. A mini outbreak happened at the high school there. So we'll have to keep posted on that. Somebody else says, when is it mandatory for the school district to set up IEPs? Nothing has been scheduled yet. In SoCal, school starts the 24th. Shouldn't these have been done over the summer? I have asked when it would be. All I was told was that they are still training staff on new programs that are meant for the SPED students, not just Zoom this time.
Well, the question is, when did you ask for the IEP meeting? And if
let's
you
see
haven't
she
asked
wants
for it,
to.
if you ask for it, if you ask before school closed, they have to do it within the first 30 days of September. If you're just asking for it now, it'll be more or less the same time frame. But I mean, I've already said on the show that certain districts said they were doing IEPs for all their kids in September. I think a lot of districts are shining that on, but I'm thinking long and hard in every case I have about why, if I don't think I need to do an IEP, why is that? So I think if you feel like you need an IEP, irrespective of when they're going to do it, you know, write them a letter, tell them why it's necessary, tell them why it can't wait, tell them the bad things that happened during school closure that you're trying to rectify before the school year gets off to a bad start. That's what I'm recommending. Now,
I
just
think I think we all sort of hoped, Bonnie, that they were going to spend the summer and get their ducks in a row.
yeah.
And I think there's disappointment all around that, you know, I think everybody was still sort of straddling the fence and not knowing. We've heard of school districts that had a plan last week that they were going to go back with masks, and this week they've decided to do distance learning.
Mhm.
It's just slightly better than it was in March when they had 24 hours notice that they were going to be doing distance learning. It's hard as a parent, and I'm sure it's so hard for the teachers. I'm hearing from teachers all over the place about their in fear of their lives, that they don't have a clear directive about where and when they're teaching. It's a mess already.
Let me say something that I think might even be slightly balanced in terms of
Okay.
perspective. I am very disappointed, and I think the districts could have done better during school closure, and I think that they still should. But I also think that there's a legitimate health and safety consideration that we're also trying to balance. And, you know, as somebody who's married to a teacher who's older and has had some health problems, I've been very concerned about him going back on campus.
Yes,
So
but I agree with you. I think a lot of us thought they should have spent the summer
yeah,
figuring out.
I don't know what they spent the summer doing. I think that people in special ed are so overwhelmed and burnt out all the time that maybe even though they wanted to use their downtime productively, maybe they just couldn't. I don't know.
No,
The
no,
point is, this is going to be a slog and we're going to have to slog our way through it. And if you want something different than is being served up to the nice people that just take what they're given, you're going to have to individualize and you're going to have to do a case to get your comp ed. It's that simple. They're
yes.
not going to hand it to you. It's very obvious. If that were going to happen, it would have happened by now.
And she wrote back in and said she requested the IEP 2 weeks ago.
Okay, well, they
So,
haven't 2 weeks. They get 30 days. They have to hold it within 30 days, assuming that it's asked for during school being open, right?
but you said with your first comment that some of the pushback is that they're saying if the school is only doing distance learning, that they're not counting that as the school being
That's the
open.
position that an attorney in Northern California is taking.
Wow, that
But
is just.
I don't think that's true across the board because I had an IEP last week and I have one this week. They are taking attendance this year. So be aware that, that one of the ways they're going to fight back is say, well, you were never there. How can you be complaining about it? Also, if you're having a problem with, given your technology setup or the way your child learns or anything else, if you're having trouble accessing the assignments through the computer, ask for what's called a non-digital learning packet. Ask them to provide you, I mean, that's old school, but important to mention. There's no consistent policy on whether districts are going to do virtual testing. There's no policy yet on whether they're going to allow Zoom observations as classroom observations. That's all got to sort of flesh itself out. The other thing that some parents are doing, it's just worth you knowing this, is they're actually going to their insurance in California and saying, I'm not getting my school hours. This is really bad. My child is regressing. Here's my regression data. I need more ABA hours. I need you to cover my school day as well. So those are
And are they getting traction? That's the big question.
We're just starting.
Yeah.
We don't know. I mean, I've
Keep
got
us posted.
yeah. I mean, this person did all the right things. She got a letter from her pediatrician. She got a letter from her behavioral agency. She got a letter from an outside psychologist documenting the regression. I'm told that you have to show that the failure to provide the service for the insurance side of things is that you can show kind of irreparable harm. So assuming that regression and losing ground behaviorally is irreparable harm, which is what this attorney felt that, you know, it would meet the definition, then that may be something else you need to look into. Parents are also now going to the district and making the case that they should be allowed to have their ABA services in home and other services like speech and whatnot. And I'm telling them, make your request, but be prepared for the fact that you're not going to get it without a fight.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's where we're at.
And that's where we're at. It's a crazy, crazy time. And I think, you know, I was saying before that everybody had all these questions, and now everybody's sort of stuck in this place of, we don't quite know fish or fowl at this point. And I think in the next couple of weeks, as people go back to school, I'm going to have questions. I think a lot of people are going to have questions. I want to encourage everybody to write in specifically questions for Bonnie. Try to get them to me during the week so that I can get them to her before the weekend. And let us know specifics, like if the individual has a diagnosis, what area of the world the school district is, what they've offered you, what you asked them. Is there anything else that's helpful for you to know, Bonnie?
Age of child.
Age, yeah. Does the functionality of the individual particularly, do you need to know that, or is that not as important?
It's always helpful.
Okay.
You know.
Well,
but I mean, you're going to have lots of questions. We're going to have lots of questions, but we will work through them together. And that's the other stuff that I wanted to share on the air, but I couldn't, was some stuff about how school psychologists should be asking themselves to function during school closure, and something on implementing the behavior support plans when schools close. So I will send those to you, Shannon, and you can share them.
Okay. All right. And I do want to reiterate, you brought up something on a show a few weeks ago that as they're starting to reveal distance learning plans, and what I've seen thus far is that the schools are putting out distance learning plans that are for all kids, and then you need to go to your IEP meeting to get it individualized. But there are elements of it that we're seeing that there are just expectations of what the parents are supposed to deal with. But you shared with us on the show that if there is something that they expect you to do, they have to train you in how to do it. And if they're not, you should be requesting it in writing.
Yeah, and that's actually covered under parent training and what I'm going to send to you. That
okay.
It specifically said that psychologists could, you know, if they should expect to do parent training, but they don't have to do it one-on-one. They could have a small group of 3 or something. But there's a clear recognition, you know, a lot of the stuff coming off of special ed connection, that there will have to be parent training. But guess what? Nobody's going to offer you parent training. You have to ask for it.
Yeah. Yeah, everybody's going to have to be the squeaky wheel. And I tell you, we're going to have to hold hands with this and get through this next, whatever it is. And we're going to have to be on it. And I know that you guys that are watching are capable of this, right? That if we just make a regular schedule of being on it, documenting what our kids are doing, helping them to be able to do it, emailing the school, asking them for things. We need to be squeaky wheels right now.
Yeah,
and
squeakier wheels.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So Bonnie again is with Tollner Law Offices, and Bonnie, they should just Google Tollner, T-O-L-L.
They should rather than wait for me to remember the website. Tollner Law Offices, we'd be happy to talk with you. We've got 8 attorneys. I'm sure somebody can help you with your problem.
There you go. And if you're not in the California, Nevada, Arizona areas,
then you consult with COPA, COPAA.net, and see what you can find in the other states. And it should be a good place to start.
Okay. I hope you're enjoying this. I hope you're enjoying the summer, Bonnie.
I am enjoying the summer, but all I do is kiss my grandson.
Are you with him right now?
Well, he's at daycare today.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize you were still in the immediate vicinity of where.
Oh yeah,
but that is a luscious thing. I'm so glad.
He's my power spot.
All right. Well, you
All
keep
right.
on keeping on.
Carry on.
Thank you. We love
All
that. We love that grandma smile. You got, are you grandma?
Stay healthy, y'all. We need
Yes.
you.
What is he going to call you? Grandma? Or what are you going to go by?
Right now, it sort of sounds like Angla.
Angla. I love it. Angla. My father, the first grandchild, called him Paga, and that stuck forever.
Good name. You know what? He can call me Mud if he wants to. I don't know what he calls
That's
me.
the look of love right there. That is
Yep,
the
you
look of
got
love.
it. You got
I
it.
love
Taught
it.
me a lot about love. Anyway,
all right.
take care,
Love
everybody. Have a good
you.
week.
So glad that you're there. All right. You take
Thank
care.
you. Bye.
Hey, thanks for watching Autism Live. To subscribe, click here. And if you'd like to check out some more of our videos, click here.